Hey guys, welcome back to the BuzWeaver channel. And in our top stories today from the Toronto Sun, World Central Kitchen founder pleads with Israel to start journey to peace. Now, you guys may have heard of the tragic incident that took place there in Israel, where you have the Central Kitchen workers there trying to provide assistance to Gaza, and they were unfortunately hit in an Israeli attack, or Israel said it was an accident, and they were trying to assess and determine how that may have happened, but they were certainly, unfortunately, attacked. The founder of the global relief charity, whose workers were killed by Israeli airstrikes in the Gaza Strip on Monday, is pleading with Israel to start the long journey to peace. Of course, as you know, we have the conflict happening there in Israel with Hamas, and, of course, the war going on with Russia and Ukraine. So a tumultuous time that we are experiencing now. So Jose Anders, a Spanish chef who founded the World Central Kitchen in 2010, penned an essay published in the New York Times today. He says that the deaths of his 7 colleagues are the direct result of Israeli policy, which squeezed humanitarian aid to desperate levels. Israel bombed the workers' 3-vehicle convoy as they were leaving a warehouse in central Gaza after delivering more than 100 tons of food. Now, it's important to keep in mind here that Hamas will disguise themselves often in ambulances and emergency vehicles. And so there could have been a level of confusion here as to whether or not these were genuine workers. Of course, it's difficult in a war zone because there is a war going on and they're in a war zone. And there's all kinds of activity going on, intelligence gathering, information gathering. And we know that Hamas typically uses emergency vehicles and emergency aid and these sorts of things like Red Cross and so forth to disguise their activity. So here we have Jacob Flickinger, a 33-year-old dual Canadian-American citizen, was among the dead. There's a picture of him right there. But it is a sad and tragic incident without a doubt. And, of course, we know that this has been a strain on the Biden administration. We have here from CNN, Biden furious over deaths of World Central Kitchen workers, but White House has no plans to change the Israeli policy. So this is becoming a very difficult situation for the Biden admin because, of course, they want to always try to play both sides so that, they obviously don't lose support, don't lose voters, this sort of thing. An Israeli airstrike in Gaza, of course, that we are familiar with, that killed 7 aid workers in non-profit World Kitchen. Of course, here they're just trying to just give a little bit of fluff to Joe Biden. President Joe Biden on Tuesday to release a public statement using a word that has rarely invoked over the course of conflict that has been filled with endless tragedy, outrage. Now, of course, this is, to just kind of bolster Joe Biden because he's got the entirety of the establishment uniparty behind him. But this is becoming a huge problem for him. Pro-Palestinian protesters interrupt Biden's glitzy New York fundraiser. So as you can remember, Donald Trump attended the funeral of the police officer that was killed there in New York, while on the other hand, you had Joe Biden, along with Obama and Clinton, there at their glitzy fundraiser in New York. So you see how they trying to play both sides of the spectrum here. And so you have the establishment behind Joe Biden still trying to help him out, despite the fact that this is going on. Of course, the pro-Palestinian protesters aren't particularly happy about it. Biden and other Democrats forced to adapt to pro-Palestinian protests. It's interesting the language they use to protect Joe Biden, is it not? So earlier this month, and this is earlier in March, protesters confronted Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez at a Brooklyn theater, demanding that she call the Israel-Hamas war a genocide. Of course, this is also another thing that continues on as well, with protesters across the board always wanting to identify it as such, of course, to disparage and be derisive towards Israel, defending themselves. And then, of course, we see Biden's job approval is only at 40%, and his disapproval is at 55%. So, obviously, as I said, he's got the entire establishment behind him. And we see that Donald Trump is leading this is the aggregated polling from Real Clear Politics. And you can see he's leading by 0.8, which is pretty significant considering that in most cases in 2016 he was behind Hillary Clinton by as much as a point, I think it was, or maybe even more than that. But it is amazing as I just said, with the entirety of the establishment uniparty behind Joe Biden, helping him. We see here this article I just saw today. Former ESPN host says her Biden interview was entirely scripted by network execs. Every single question. Former ESPN host was just talking about the fact that, and of course it's behind a paywall, so I can't show you here. But it is, as I said, with what's going on in the world right now in 2024, and it's unfortunate that these individuals, lost their lives in this, trying to help out there in Gaza. But it's a continuing escalation that we're seeing across the world. And it's amazing that you have the entirety of the establishment uniparty behind Joe Biden, and yet he is obviously still behind because everyday people are still having to provide for themselves, provide for their families, buy groceries, pay their bills, pay their expenses. We can all feel what's happening under this administration. And it's just a curious direction that we're going in. But, of course, I welcome all your guys' thoughts and opinions down in the comment section. Your particular thoughts on this particular conflict there with Israel and Hamas, as well as what's going on there and even in Russia and Ukraine. But nonetheless, guys, I want to thank you all across the spectrum here, Rumble, Odyssey, and BitChute. Your guys' continued support on New Tech as well as here on YouTube. And that would be the channel icon you see appearing there on the screen. You guys can click on that to subscribe to the channel, as well as to select notifications. That way you know when there's content here on the channel. And I'll see all you guys in the next video.